Now we're going to look at TradingView. So this is the most established, most renowned data visualization platform that crypto traders and investors use to be able to look at price history, to look at volume, to look at demand and supply, and then add in different indicators, strategies, and different metrics to be able to look at the entire asset class itself. And then, so you'll see this, and what you probably will see is a very familiar user interface that's integrated into most centralized cryptocurrency exchanges and also decentralized cryptocurrency exchanges and different aggregating trading services. So it just depends on whether or not you're coming from, like an MT4, MT5, or you're using Thinkorswim, or you're using any of the other, TD or Charles Schwab or E-Trade or iTrade or any of the other trading platforms. All of those variants have their own proprietary visualization platform. And this is really what TradingView is. So what it allows you to do, so if we just look at Bitcoin, how you use it, you first type in what asset you want to look at. So we go and type it in, and you can create an account on TradingView for free. So there's a free account and it works perfectly fine. You don't need a premium one to get started. Just my suggestion is to look at the plans, and they also have like really good, attractive seasonal discounted flash sales. So they have like Black Friday, Boxing Day, the Christmas holiday, Thanksgiving discounts, sometimes up to 50-60% for if you sign up for a premium or a pro plan yearly. And so check those out. But once you have a plan, you type in your asset, you choose it, choose what time period you want to look at. So that's what that is. So if you do 1 hour, 4 hour, 1 day, weekly, 2 weekly, 3 weeks, right? Monthly, depends on the asset that you're looking at. But for now, let's stick to Bitcoin. And this is Bitcoin on daily. And what you can do is you look at the price of Bitcoin. And if you don't want to use traditional candles, there's dozens of other options. So you can use bars. You can also use hollow candles if you're used to that type of syntax, or you can use volume candles, which is something that they've just released recently, which is adjusting the size of the candle for the amount of volume that was traded that particular day. You can also look at just using a flat line, which is only considering the close price. You can also look at areas and high-level areas, baselines, columns. I personally like to use candles. I like bars. I like Renko. I like some of the other charting types that don't look at time as an important variable. But so I like Heikin Ashi quite a bit. This is definitely would be one of my favorite candle types because it allows you to screen through the asset price without really being bogged down with too much of the detail and the intraday changes. So if you look at traditional candles, you see it keeps flipping between red and green. And but when you look at Heikin Ashi, it's actually smoothing the entire trend quite a bit. And it allows you to look at the entirety of the candle, right? That is the fundamental concept of Heikin Ashi versus traditional candles, is it looks at the high, the open, the close, and the low. And then it tries to smoothen the average out over a prolonged period of time. The hope is to reduce the number of false positives or the number of false negatives, right? So it tries to improve the accuracy of the price that it's displaying at that particular time. So you can see right now, if we look at this on a weekly basis, we've been in a 3-week downtrend. But if you look at it on a daily basis, we've gone up and down, but really within this $73,000 and $64,000 range, right? That has really been our range on a Heikin Ashi standpoint, right? And it's been like this for, talking about almost going 2 months at this point, right? So late February going into late April. So that's Heikin Ashi. But if you look at traditional candles, you can see that this would be considered the high. This is considered the low. This is considered the open. and then this is considered the close. So that's how a traditional candlestick works, of course. And why it's important to use TradingView is it has the vast majority of cryptocurrencies that you would want to use and look at for centralized exchanges or decentralized exchanges. It also allows you to filter by type. So if you're only looking at spot markets, so just looking to buy and hold long, then you would use spots. If you're looking at decentralized exchange swaps, you could do that. If you're looking at perpetual futures and other options trading pairs, then you would look at futures, which are considered derivative markets, and so on and so forth. And then you have all of the exchanges that you can filter to. So the beauty of this is that there's a CryptoCap. If you do it like, if you type in CryptoCap like this, you're able to actually look at market cap dominance across not just Bitcoin, but across some of the more prominent tier one assets. And that's really how you initially add an asset. And then what you can do is you can add an indicator. So if I want to add an indicator like some of the ones that we have, we can have a wave band, right? So by clicking it, you're essentially adding it to your chart, and that's what you're seeing here, right? So this is your waveform band. And this waveform band, why it's helpful is it allows me to be able to see a exponential moving average, 8, 13, 16, all stacked all the way up to 314 days, right? And this allows me to be able to go into a style, and I'm able to choose and enable or disable any of the actual bands themselves. Right now, I just have 8, 21, 200. 8 is literally taking the last 8 days on an exponential moving average basis, and it's charting it at this color. And then 21 is essentially the last 3 weeks, but placing more weight on the more recent data. That's the difference between, of course, an SMA and an EMA. And then this is using a simple moving average for 200, but I've adjusted it down to 20. So if you want to change it to 200, you just change it. So most indicators are going to work as such, right? So you add in the indicator and you want to change it, just double click it or click the settings, hide it, unhide it. If you own the actual indicator or the trading strategy, you can look at the source code and modify it as needed. So if it's closed source, then you can't, of course. If it's open source, you can. On the right-hand side is the watch list. So this is what I like about TradingView is that I can go to a weekly basis and then I can just go through each of the assets and just go one by one. So ETH USD, ETH BTC, Bitcoin dominance, Ethereum dominance, right? And I can go and I'm able to look at Doge USD. So these are my watch lists. How you add something to your watch list is on your watch list on the right-hand side, you click this watch list details bar, and then you just add a symbol. And by you adding a symbol, let's say we're going to add ETH USD on Bitstamp. Of course, the prices are going to differ slightly on each exchange. So you're going to click this add to watch list. And then by doing that, it's going to be added to the list. If you're very particular about where you want to add it, then right click and then add symbol. You can also add a section. You can add an asset directly to a different portfolio. You can flag them in any way you want. So you can flag it red. You can flag it any color you want to be able to classify and categorize them by color. And then you can also add notes. So if there's important trading notes that are pertinent to you being able to know when to enter, when to exit, or you're just consolidating your market analysis, then you would just add a note as well. So that hopefully helps you go through the watch list, go through how to look at assets, how to pick indicators. Another very important variable is the alerts. So if you're going in and you want to set an alert, you click the alerts button, or you right click and say, I want to add an alert on BNB USD, right? So this is the Binance coin, BNB USD. And then you can set your condition based upon any of the indicators that you have. And you just say, I want to be alerted anytime the BNB USD is moving up and it moves up by $1 in one day, or 1 week. This one is weekly, right? So you can change this however you want. So you say, I only want to be alerted when BNB is within a range between the upper bound and lower bound here. And you can set your trigger, so only to be notified once or notified every time. You can have an open-ended alert if you have a premium plan. If you don't, then you can just basically set up an alert for the next 30 days. And then your notifications is, where do you want to receive these alerts? Do you want to receive them within the app, or as a pop-up, as an email, a webhook URL if you're looking to execute trades on the back of these alerts, playing sounds, or just purely as a plain text itself via another email, right? So that's how you do alerts. That's how you do your watch list. That's how you control the assets. The other thing is, if you're trying to do any form of chart annotations, everything is on the left-hand side. So if you're trying to do a trend line like we did, or you want to do horizontal lines, or you want to do a vertical line on a particular cross-section, you just click those and then double-click them to change the settings again. So always remember, double-click any of the actual variables if you want to modify them and adjust the settings. And then if you're looking to do any form of price range, or date and price range, this allows you to be able to see if you had entered the market at this particular point and you kept it until 168 days later, then it would be up 194% over that period of time, right? So there's a huge amount of tools that are related to projections, to volume-based annotations, to trying to measure the slope, measure the trend, measure the amount of the magnitude of a particular trade. There's really so much. So this is meant to just be a quick and dirty crash course of TradingView to just help you get started and just jump in, get your feet wet. And let me walk you through the Block Circle Momentum Trading Bot as an example of what a strategy is. So how this works is, this is how it works on TradingView. So I can go into TradingView and I can add a strategy the same way that you add an indicator. So if I say Block Circle and I want to add the Momentum Trading Bot, you click it, and then when you click it, it'll be added to your chart. And once you have a trading strategy, depending on what configuration it is, you can adjust it and calibrate it and fine tune it for any trading pair in any time period as needed that fits your investment horizon, your risk tolerance, your financial goals, and the amount of trading that you want to do, right? Is it going to be a scalp trading strategy on a lower time frame? Is it going to be a swing trading on a higher time frame? All of those other aspects have to be considered, of course. But this is the Momentum Trading Bot, and it really is 3 simple steps. First is you choose what time period you want to run the trading strategy on, and this is how all the strategies work. So you choose, I've been forward testing this configuration for Solana from January of last year. And then you choose your entry conditions, right? So what variables have to hit, right? So what has to be triggered? What conditions have to be triggered before you enter a trade, either a long or a short? And then, so for example, momentum. So if the momentum is rising and you're confirming that that momentum is in fact risen at a higher time frame using 1 day, then you can do that, right? Because this is Solana USDT 12 hours. You can also look at Heikin Ashi indicators. So rather than using traditional candles, you can look at using Heikin Ashi as a sort of as a secondary confirmation that you are in fact in an uptrend or you're in fact in a downtrend. You can look at exponential moving averages. You can look at slow stochastic. These are all different variables that are pertinent to entry conditions. Now, you can also look at some other indicators that you may be familiar with, like RSI, which is your relative strength index. Think of it as the strength or weakness of a particular trend and where we are. You can say, I only want to enter longs if the RSI is below 20, or I only want to enter shorts if the RSI is above 70. So that's what these operator conditions are part of the entry condition section. And then you also have a slow stochastic, you have perpetual futures open interest. So you say, I only want to enter a long if perpetual futures amount cumulatively across the main exchanges is above let's say 3 billion. And the way you do that is it's annotated in millions. So you say it's 3,000 million, which is 3 billion. And then you can have price levels as entry conditions. So all of these different variables are important. So you say, I only want to open a long if Bitcoin's price is actually above 50,000 and is above the 8-week EMA, and the slope of the bands is greater than 1%, right? Like if you think of the waveform bands, you can consider the slope, you can consider the distance between the bands. These are all variables that are very important for you to be able to just be more precise and more sophisticated around when you're entering and when you're exiting a trade. So those are all entry conditions. Now, when you're in an actual trade, you have to consider your exit criteria. What conditions have to be met for you to exit a trade? A stop loss can be triggered. Target profit can be triggered. You can exit on an opposite signal. So if you're in an open long and you want to close that open long, if there's an incoming short, then you would do that. You can do higher time frames for trailing stop losses. And you can also look at other momentum invalidation criteria. So if your trade is invalidated by an early marker of momentum shifting to the opposite side of where you have an open trade, then you can consider those variables as part of the momentum trading bot. And then at the end, you trigger it, you enable it, and then once you have that set up, you'll be able to see all of the open trades. So right now we have an open long in Solana from 142, where we were shorting from 181, right? And it's been going well. I mean, you look at the performance and you look at the performance summary, your goal is to ideally get to a point where the percent profitability is above 50, and you want your net profit to be higher than you buying and holding within a reasonable amount of drawdown. So drawdown is considered your unrealized loss. So think of it, for every unit of risk that you're absorbing, you want to have a commensurate higher unit of potential reward, right? That outperforms and outdoes any form of potential loss. So if you start with 10,000 and you let the momentum trading bot help you enter or exit trades, then you would do quite well. You would be able to return close to a 12x return. And when you're looking at the trading bot, it's important that you also look at the properties, right? So it allows you to control what your initial capital is. And this is how all the trading strategies work in TradingView. You choose what base currency it is, what your order size. So if I want to say I want to use a very conservative 2x leverage, right? So that's as risk averse as I would like to be. And a commission of 0.03. So think of that as your total transaction cost of being able to enter a trade or exit a trade. And you choose what margin for long positions, what margin for short positions. So you'll see tooltips all through TradingView. Momentum Trading Bot, you'll see the tooltips here. So it explains exactly what is a particular variable. So CCI is Commodity Channel Index, T3, think of it as like stacked moving averages, right? But properties allows you to control how much is your initial capital and then what your order size is. And the goal is you're essentially simulating these configurations. And your goal is to run as many permutations of different configurations as possible, because every combination will produce and yield different results. And you try to find ones that potentially work the best, right? So how we came up with this particular configuration that only has 2x leverage, but it gives you 56x returns. And we've proven this in a forward testing environment. We've actually executed the majority of these trades more than a year ago, and we've been forward testing it now and constantly tinker with it to make sure that it is as accurate as possible. And how we do that is we essentially go into properties and you can download your configurable parameters and the values. And then in Block Circle, there is a trading bots chat that is dedicated to really leveraging the power of like the collective intelligence in the group. And you can see, right? So I would post a configuration and others would probe at it and ask questions and make it even better. And it's phenomenal, because it truly, the group is, like I've mentioned before, is made up of quantitative traders, financial investors, OG, scalpers, and different people who are, computer scientists, data scientists, financial engineers. Many of them have their own perspective on what works and what doesn't, and that's what makes it incredible, right? And this is just what has worked tremendously well, is just being able to have others, others really just proposing different configurations that could work, right? And it did exceptionally well in October, right? This is like an example of an alert. It was, shorting at $39, and then it bought back at $23. So it's really the power of this Trading Bots chat that we have. So hopefully that gives you a good overview of TradingView. I think that covers the main concepts. There's, of course, quite a bit you can do around replaying. You can select bars, like how far do you want to replay, and you can play it, and you can say, okay, now it's actually going through. Had you executed a trade on XY date, then you're going to simulate what your actual profitability would have been. And you can choose different bars. You can choose select dates. Like there's quite a bit of advanced functionality within TradingView. And if you have any questions, please let us know. We're always happy to help.